All right, thanks, guys. We are 9-3 in our last 12 NFL tier package picks on BrockPage.com. And if you want to see which one of these free YouTube picks on this video that I'm actually betting on personally, there's only one way to do that, and that's to sign up for my NFL tier package picks on BrockPage.com. We're also hitting at 61% for the entire NFL season this year in that very same category. We currently have over 720 members who are signed up and active on that site. And once again, if you want to see which one of these free YouTube picks on this video that I'm actually betting on personally, there's only one way to do that, and that's to sign up for a membership on my website at brockpage.com. The Jets take on the Colts, 8:20 Eastern kickoff Thursday night. The Indianapolis Colts are minus 10.5, totals 46 and a hook. Now, the Colts continuously find ways to lose. They're 1-3 straight up at Lucas Oil Stadium this season. The Colts are also in the bottom 10 in pass yards per game. They're in the bottom 10 in second quarter scoring as well. They're taking on a Jets team who won 2 out of their last 4 ball games with impressive victories over the likes of Tennessee and Cincinnati. And as a matter of fact, the Jets scored 61 total points in those 2 victories. Meanwhile, defensively, New York's in the top 3 in fewest third quarter points allowed on the road. Quinton Williams has 4.5 sacks thus far in the year. C.J. Mosley with 5.5 total tackles. Now, injury-wise, Zach Wilson's still out for New York. Huff, Mims, Wesco, Davis, Fant, and Coleman are questionable. Meanwhile, for Indianapolis, Willis and Keys are questionable for Indy. Now, total-wise, New York's last 4 straight got over the number. Indy's 4-1 to the over in their last 5. And give me the New York Jets plus 10.5 and the over 46 and a hook. Next game, Browns, Bengals, 1 o'clock East. Cincinnati's minus 3, totals 47. That's a Sunday game, by the way. Despite their ridiculous loss to the Jets this past Sunday, we're still looking at a Bengals team who won 4 out of their last 6. The Bengals are scoring 28 points a game, and they rank in the top 5 in offensive yards per play. Joe Burrow's thrown for over 2,200 yards and 20 touchdowns. Jamar Chase is averaging nearly 100 yards a game receiving, and he scored 7 times. Now, defensively, the Bengals allow only 20 points a game, and they have a top 10 rush defense. They're taking on a banged-up Cleveland team who lost 3 out of their last 4. The Browns are in the bottom 10 in passing, bottom 10 in fourth quarter scoring. Now, injury-wise, LeCount, Green, Peoples-Jones, Ward, Johnson, McKinley, and Conklin, they're all questionable for Cleveland. Meanwhile, for Cincinnati, Tate, Carmen, and Evans, they're all questionable for Sunday. Now, total-wise, Cincinnati's last 2 straight got over the number. Cleveland saw 2 out of their last 3 road games get over the line. I'm going to lean towards Cincinnati minus 3, over 47. Next game, Texans, Dolphins, 1 o'clock East. Miami's minus 6.5, totals 46. The Dolphins are on a 7-game losing streak, 1-6 against the spread during that span. Miami's dead last in the league in home scoring. They're also dead last in offensive yards per play at home as well. They're taking on a Houston team who actually ranks in the top 10 in pass defense on the road. Lonnie Johnson has 3 interceptions from this secondary, 40 tackles and 4 PBUs for the corner. Meanwhile, Jonathan Grenard has 7 sacks on the year and 8 tackles for loss. The Texans have successfully covered the number in 2 out of their last 4. And when it comes to the injury report, Brown, King, Johnson, and Taylor, they're all listed as questionable for Houston. Now, 2 out of Houston's last 4 ball games got over the number. Miami's 4-2 to the over in their last 6. I'm going to lean toward Houston plus 6.5, over 46. Next game, Vikings, Ravens, 1 o'clock East. Baltimore's minus 5.5, totals 49. The Ravens have the worst pass defense in the NFL. 331 yards a game passing they're giving up on their home field. Of course, No surprise here. Baltimore's dead last in the league in defensive yards per play at home. The Ravens are giving up 27 points a game at M&T Bank Stadium. They're taking on a Vikings team who scores over 30 points a game when traveling, and they throw for 317 yards a game away from their home field. Kirk Cousins has thrown for nearly 2,000 yards, along with 14 touchdowns. Cousins has thrown only a pair of interceptions this season. Meanwhile, defensively, the Vikes are in the top 10 in fewest fourth quarter points allowed. Now, injury-wise, Danielle Hunter, he's out for the season. Jones, Westbrook, and Pierce, they're all questionable. Meanwhile, for the Ravens, Murray, Watkins, and McCarry are questionable for them. Now, 3 out of Baltimore's last 5 fell under the line. Minnesota went 4-1 to the under in their last 5. I'm going to lean toward Minnesota plus 5.5 and the under 49. Next game, Raiders, Giants, 1 o'clock East. The Las Vegas Raiders are -3, totals 46.5. The Raiders are on a 2-game winning streak, top 3 in the league in passing. Derek Carr's thrown for over 2,200 yards along with a dozen scores. Unfortunately, he won't be throwing to Henry Ruggs as he's dealing with a deadly DUI incident. I don't think this guy will be playing in the NFL again. But anyway, Carr should be able to spread it around and get the ball in the hands of different open receivers. So I'm really not all that concerned about that. Ruggs is a huge loss, but I think Carr can overcome that. Now, defensively, the Raiders are actually doing a really nice job of defending the pass. They're in the top 10 in pass defense, top 5 in defensive yards per play. They're taking on a Giants team who scores only 15 points a game at home, and they did lose 3 out of their last 4 ball games. Now, the Giants are in the bottom 3 in offensive yards per play at home. Ebner, Shepard, Galladay, Barkley, and Carter, they're all listed as questionable for New York. Meanwhile, for Las Vegas, like I said, Ruggs is out. Waller, Jacobs, and White, they're questionable. Now, total-wise, LV's last 2 straight got over the number. The Giants saw 3 out of their last 5 get over the line. Give me Las Vegas -3, over 46.5. Next game, Bills, Jags, 1 o'clock Eastern start time. Buffalo's -14, totals 49. Buffalo won 5 out of their last 6 ball games, 5-1 against the spread during that stretch. The Bills lead the NFL in scoring on average per game. They're also in the top 10 in passing. Josh Allen's thrown for nearly 2,000 yards and 17 touchdown passes. The big quarterback's been sacked only 8 times. Meanwhile, defensively, the Bills allow fewer points per contest than any other team in the league. Buffalo's allowing only 15 points a game and 182 yards passing per contest. They're taking on a Jacksonville team who scores only 17 points a game and ranks in the bottom 5 in fourth quarter scoring at home. The 1-6 Jags also allow more first quarter points than any other team in the NFL. Now, total-wise, 3 out of Jacksonville's last 4 home games fell under the number. The Jags are also 71% to the under for the entire season. Meanwhile, Buffalo saw 4 out of their 7 contests on the year stay under the line themselves. I'm going to lean toward Buffalo -14, under 49. Next matchup, Broncos, Cowboys, 1 o'clock Eastern kickoff. Dallas is -10, totals 49.5. Now, I do realize the Cowboys have gone undefeated against the spread thus far in the season. That in mind, though, this is a mighty big number to cover with a Dallas defense who ranks in the bottom 10 in yards allowed per play. Now, the Cowboys are also in the bottom 3 in first quarter points allowed. Prescott, Diggs, and Smith, they're all questionable to play on Sunday. They're going up against a very good Denver defense, top 3 in the NFL in points allowed per contest. The Broncos are giving up only 17 points a game on the road, and they're also in the top 3 in road pass defense. Now, Justin Simmons has 3 interceptions from the secondary, 6 PBUs, and 40 tackles for the safety. Meanwhile, Kareem Jackson leads the club with 50 tackles thus far in the year. This Bronco defense is in the top 3 in fewest fourth quarter points allowed. Now, injury-wise, Purcell, Callahan, Bowles, and Johnson are questionable. And as you guys probably already know, Von Miller's been traded, so no more Von Miller in Denver. Now, total-wise, 3 out of Denver's last 4 road games fell under the number, 75% to the under for the entire season. I'm going to lean toward Denver plus 10, under 49.5. Next matchup, Falcons, Saints, 1 o'clock Eastern start time. The New Orleans Saints are -6, totals 42. And despite the absence of Jameis Winston, we're still looking at a Saints team who's really been catapulted by this defense. They're in the top 5 in points allowed, top 3 in rush defense. The Saints allow only 18 points a game. They're holding their opponents to only 65 rush yards a game at home. P.J. Williams has 3 interceptions from the secondary. Demario Davis with 53 total tackles and 3 sacks. The Saints are in the top 3 in fewest second quarter points allowed at home. Now, injury-wise, New Orleans may have to go to work without Washington, Pete, Hill, and Turner. Those guys are currently listed as questionable for Sunday. Now, the Saints, they're taking on an Atlanta club who scored just 13 points in a loss against Carolina this past week. The Falcons are rushing for just 65 yards a game on the road, and they're in the bottom 10 in offensive yards per play. Now, defensively, Atlanta's giving up 30 points a game when they travel. And when it comes to the total on this one, 7 out of Atlanta's last 10 meetings with New Orleans did stay under the number. As far as the Saints go, I'm actually really tailing them more because of their defense. I'm not really sure how they're going to do offensively with Jameis out for the year, but I do like New Orleans. I don't think there's going to be a whole lot of points. Give me the Saints -6, under 42. Next matchup, Patriots, Panthers, 1 o'clock Eastern kickoff. The Patriots are -4 on the road, totals 41. Now, New England's throwing for just 198 yards a game on the road this year. They're going up against a very good Carolina pass defense who ranks in the top 3 in the league in pass yards allowed per game. Now, the Panthers are holding their opponents to just 188 yards a game passing. Hassan Reddick has 7.5 sacks on the year, 38 total tackles for the linebacker. Jeremy Chin also has 43 tackles on the season himself. The Panthers are holding their opponents to just 19 points a game. And they also rank in the top 3 in defensive yards per play. Now, injury-wise, Darnold, Henderson, and Marshall, they're all listed as questionable. Meanwhile, for New England, Wade, Perkins, and King, they're listed as questionable for the Pats. Now, total-wise, New England's last 4 straight all got over the total. 2-1 to the over this year when traveling. I'm going to lean toward Carolina +4, over 41. Next matchup, Chargers, Eagles, 4:05 East. The LA Chargers are -1.5, totals 50. Despite a recent slump here over the past couple of weeks, the Chargers have still won 2 out of their last 3 road games, and they're also in the top 10 in passing. Justin Herbert's only a few yards shy of 2,000 for the season, 16 touchdown passes for the youngster. Meanwhile, defensively, the Chargers have the number 5 pass defense in the NFL. They're taking on an Eagles team who hasn't won a game at home this season. They're 0-3 at the Link, and they're dead last in the NFL in offensive time of possession at home. Now, Philadelphia is also in the bottom 10 in home passing. Now, injury-wise, Harris, Arcega-Whiteside, Reagor, Driscoll, and McPherson, they're all listed as questionable. Meanwhile, for Los Angeles, Davis, Jackson, and Samuel, they're listed as questionable for them. Now, total-wise, the Chargers are 3-0 to the under when traveling, 71% to the under for the whole year. Meanwhile, Philadelphia saw 2 out of their last 3 home games fall under the total themselves. I'm going to lean toward the Chargers -1.5 and the under 50. Next contest, Cardinals, Niners, 4:25 East. Arizona's -2.5, totals 45. Now, the Cardinals currently lead the NFL in road scoring. They're averaging 36 points a game away from home, and they're also in the top 5 in road rushing. Kyler Murray's thrown for nearly 2,300 yards this year. along with 17 touchdowns. Now defensively, we're looking at an Arizona Cardinals team who leads the NFL in points allowed on the road. They're giving up only 16 points a game when they travel. They're taking on a San Francisco team who's in the bottom three in second quarter scoring at home. Meanwhile, defensively, the Niners are giving up nearly 30 points a game at Levi Stadium. The 49ers failed to cover the point spread in 4 out of their last 5 ball games. Now, when it comes to the injury report here, Ward is out. Ford and Alshire are questionable for San Francisco. Meanwhile, for Arizona, Hopkins, Garcia, Murray, Lawrence, Collins, and Wiggins, they're questionable. Total-wise, Arizona saw 2 out of their last 4 road games get over the number. Meanwhile, the Niners saw their last 2 straight get over the total themselves. 4-3 to the over for the entire season. I'm going to lean toward Arizona minus 2.5 in the over 45. Next game, Packers, Chiefs, 425 East. Kansas City's minus 7, totals 48. Kansas City won 2 out of their last 3 ball games. Top 5 in the league in passing. Patrick Mahomes has thrown for over 2,300 yards and 19 touchdowns. Kansas City's in the top 10 in offensive yards per play. Now they're taking on a Packers team who's going to work without Aaron Rodgers, and as a matter of fact, Green Bay has a whole bunch of guys who are banged up right now. Kelly, King, Valdez-Scantling, Lazard, and Kike, they're all questionable. And of course, don't forget big tight end Robert Tonyan. He's out for the season. And even when Aaron Rodgers was in the lineup this year, Green Bay's still in the bottom 10 in pass yards per game on the road. Now the Packs also in the bottom 5 in fourth quarter scoring. Now total-wise, Green Bay's 5-0 to the under in their last 5 straight. Kansas City's 3-0 to the under in their last 3. I'm going to lean toward Kansas City minus 7, under 48. Next ball game, Sunday Night Football. Titans versus the Rams, 8:20 Eastern kickoff. The Rams are minus 7.5, totals 54. LA's on a 4-game winning streak, 7-1 straight up overall for the season. LA scoring 31 points a game. They lead the NFL in offensive yards per play. Matthew Stafford's thrown for nearly 2,500 yards, along with 22 touchdowns. Wide receiver Cooper Kupp has 10 touchdown catches, and he averages over 115 receiving yards a game. Now defensively, the Rams are in the top 10 in points allowed. They're taking on a Tennessee team who lost Derrick Henry for the season, and they also have a slew of guys on the injury report. Jones, Lamb, Munyer, Evans, Blasingame, and Tart, they're all listed as questionable. The Titans allow 27 points a game when traveling, and they're in the bottom 5 in pass yards allowed per game on the road. Now, the Titans are 4-0 to the over when traveling this year. Rams are 75% to the over for the whole year. Give me the Rams minus 7.5 and the over 54. Next and final matchup, Bears, Steelers, 8:15 Eastern kickoff on Monday Night Football. Pittsburgh's minus 6.5, totals 40. The Steelers' defense is in the top 10 in points allowed. TJ Watt's second in the NFL with 8.5 sacks. Watt's also got 3 forced fumbles and a couple of fumble recoveries. Now, Minkah Fitzpatrick, he leads the club with 51 total tackles. Pittsburgh's in the top 10 in the league in rush defense at home. They're taking on a Chicago club who lost their last 3 straight. They failed to cover the number in all 3 of those losses. Now, the Bears are dead last in the league in both passing and yards per play. The Bears are scoring just 10 points a game on the road. Now, injury-wise, Williams, Mack, Holtz, Burns, and Jackson are questionable for Chicago. When it comes to the total in this one, 3 out of the Bears' last 4 road games fell under the number. They're also 75% to the under for the entire season. Meanwhile, Pittsburgh's 3-1 to the under at Heinz Field, 6-1 to the under overall for the year. I'm going to lean toward Pittsburgh minus 6.5 in the under 40. With that, guys, now it's time for our quick pick recap. Powered to you by my website at brockpage.com, where we are 9-3 in our last 12 NFL tier package picks. I like the Jets plus 10.5 over 46 and a hook. Cincinnati -3 over 47. Houston plus 6.5 over 46. Minnesota plus 5.5 under 49. Las Vegas -3 over 46.5. Buffalo -14 under 49. Denver plus 10 under 49.5. New Orleans -6 under 42. Carolina plus 4 over 41. LA Chargers -1.5 under 50. Arizona -2.5 over 45. Kansas City -7 under 48. LA Rams -7.5 over 54. Before I give you my next and final free pick for the video, one final reminder that we are 9-3 in our last 12 NFL tier package picks on BrockPage.com. We're also hitting at 61% for the entire NFL season in that very same category. I'm going to lean toward the Pittsburgh Steelers -6.5 in the under 40. And with that, guys, now it's time for our shout out of the day. And that's going to go to Operation Hennessy, who said earlier this morning, "Oh, big boy, me love you long time." Very questionable. All right, guys, that's going to do it for me. Don't forget to check me out on BrockPage.com. If you guys do end up getting a membership here today on my website, just keep in mind, you're going to get billed the day you sign up and then the first of every month following that. So if you do end up getting a membership here today, you're going to get access to that content all the way through the end of November. I do always tell folks in every single video, the earlier in the month you sign up, the better. But most importantly, guys, got to thank you for joining me right here on YouTube. I really hope you enjoyed all this great free content, all this great free information. And with that said, guys, happy Wednesday to you. Happy hump day to you. And I look forward to seeing you later on today on my website at BrockPage.com.